Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It is part of a series of introducing, hearing, meeting wonderful, wonderful poets. I've been very honored to be part of it. And the whole idea is that we're looking at the problem of the virus. Thelma Reyna put together a collection, and she'll share more details about this, a collection of writings from some outstanding, outstanding poets. And all these can be read in the book, When the Virus Came Calling, COVID-19 Strikes America. The idea that at that time, 169,000 lives had been lost in the United States, 5.3 million people infected. That was the time when she wrote this book. And now today, here we are in November 2020, and the numbers continue to rise. It's just a touching time, but it's being documented by this outstanding book. And we want to thank Thelma and all the poets today, the leader poets, who are taking their time to read this information to us and to make us remember those that have lost their lives, those that have been exposed. Today we have Thelma Reyna and some outstanding poets.
Thank you very much, Armando. Very, very pleased to be here and very happy to see all these wonderful colleagues representing different states and a different country, Costa Rica, from across the nation. Just very briefly, I happen to believe, and I'm probably biased, that this anthology might be unique in some ways. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the backstory of how we all came together from across the country for this common purpose. Probably in February, when we first started hearing about this mysterious virus that was ravaging the rest of the world, Asia had been hit hard, Europe was struggling. And finally, we hear that early February is one of the times that I first heard that this virus had now invaded America. It was here now. So having seen the suffering and the loss of life, the magnitude of this catastrophe, I knew that it was going to be a hugely significant moment, not just in the lives of the world, but especially us, because we were next in line. So I got the idea of trying to get ahead of the curve, trying to do some first person observing, witness observations. There are many different phrases for what it is that we as a group did. So I wanted to put together writers whom I knew, writers whom I trusted, writers whom I really respected, writers whom I had heard of from others, and to do an anthology with a very fast turnaround time, because I wanted us, maybe not the first in the nation, but perhaps one of the first groups of people in the nation to start recording for posterity, to start recording in real time what we were living, what we were thinking and feeling about this virus that had invaded our shores. So I personally reached out, email, telephone, whatever other methods, to 50 people, what I call distinguished authors, people who have made a mark in the realm of not just poetry, but prose, nonfiction and short fiction. I reached out to 50 individuals whom I knew. I explained my vision for this project to them, and I invited them to please send me, within a certain very tight time frame, mind you, that we were looking at February, March, April, around there, May. This was a time period we had to get our writings together from all over the nation, to send me writings, either poems, personal essays, short fiction, of their experiences as they were living this pandemic, and no other restrictions placed. And I was deeply, deeply humbled and deeply appreciative of the fact that out of these 50 people, 45 of these fantastic authors said yes, and they joined me on this journey. So they sent in their writings, and the book is roughly organized in the chronology of the outbreak here in the United States. And then as time passed, we all remember April when New York City was the pandemic center of the world and how ghastly and horribly they were suffering. So that's in the book. We just covered the pandemic. Some people, I asked them that if they had a prior writing that they felt was apropos for this topic and with tweaking, that they could send that into, and some people did. So now we have a book, When the Virus Came Calling, COVID-19 Strikes America, that is about 265 pages long. It represents 45 authors. I'm the 46th author. I submitted some few things like I asked everyone else to do. And there are approximately 115 to 120 different pieces in here. Most of it poetry, but a lot of it is personal essays, and we have one short story piece in here as well. So this is the gathering of this unique group of people who found the time to participate. And I am just so grateful. This is approximately, I think, the 6th or 7th Zoom event that we do for this book. It came out in September. And I've organized the reason that these poets, you'll see, we're calling them poet leaders. That's what our topic is. I organized our clusters of participants according to what their big area of expertise is, what most of their career has focused on, what they are best known for. So we've had poets laureate, we've had academics, professors, writing teachers, we've had poet leaders, we've had multi-genre authors, and each of those people has had an event to themselves. So today I am so happy to say that these wonderful beings here from all over are what I call poet leaders. They are workshop teachers, organizers, podcasters, bloggers, publishers, editors, all of the above, and many of these authors are a combination of the many different categories or clusters that we had. So these are the people who not only write and publish their own beautiful work, highly talented work, but their life mission, at least in part, is to shepherd others, to teach others how to get into being a better poet, how to develop their poetry, how to share their poetry. And these are people that literally are disseminating the love and the beauty of poetry as far and wide as they can. And they're a very dear group to me. So thank you all for being here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I will give a brief bio. And believe me, this was very challenging because the bios of these authors in the book are at least twice as long as what I'm saying. This is how talented and accomplished these people are. But for time, I cut their bios down. So I shall read a bio for each person, and then I will turn it over to him or her immediately. And each person will read one or two pieces that is published in this book that they wrote. So without further ado, let's go to Polly Dutton. Polly Dutton founded, coordinated, and led the Altadena, California Public Library's Poetry and Cookies Anthology and its public readings, annual readings from 2003 all the way through 2014 when she retired. Polly wrote a poetry newsletter each year throughout her tenure until 2013. She served on the selection committees for the very well-lauded the Altadena Literary Review 2020 and the Altadena Poetry Review from 2015 through 2019. Polly co-edited the 2017 and 2018 editions of the Altadena Poetry Review, a much-loved anthology in the California area. This book, the Altadena Poetry Review, was renamed. It was the original Poetry and Cookies, the anthology that laid the groundwork for all the wonderful work that has happened since then because of the tireless work and devotion of the godmother of poetry in Southern California, as I like to call her, Polly Dutton. So without further ado, I'm turning it over to Polly.
Thank you, Thelma. I hear Corona calling. She says, "Hey, scared writer, you'd better unlock that drawer. or I'll give you some heat. Stuff your chest with regret. Cough your words out with sputum. Credit this gift of time to play with your inner 3-year-old manuscript. I recall a vision of reading from my poetry book as listeners laud. Your words mirror my words. Your courage stirs my courage. Your pain frees my pain. I take a step toward the drawer. The words are crying. We can't live until you set us free. Only you have the key. Don't be afraid to open us because we'll reveal your secrets. You must be brave. Some may say stop to protect their tender hearts. They can't listen. They can't watch your pages unfurl because your words open wounds, memories they've been hiding from, like you. Just take us elsewhere or stick a label on us for adults willing to face their sadness and need us to push them through.
You're not going to be able.
We won't take no for an answer. If you don't let us out, we'll howl in your dreams, and as you go about your day, you'll hear us howling, stamping feet, demanding freedom. We need to live, to share ourselves with whoever needs our words. I take another step toward the drawer. Knees shake against each other like boxers packing punches for the knockout. I put my head in my hands, raise my eyes, open the drawer. Words fly out and circle the ceiling like tiny angels. They clap and sing. You and we are both free now. I lower my head again and say, thank you, Corona.
Our next poet is Jimmy Racinos. Jimmy Racinos is not just a poet. He's a writer, photographer, and podcaster in the dynamic city of Los Angeles, California. His blog, Jimbo Times, the LA Storyteller, has published literature, photography, and more from Los Angeles since 2014. When not writing, photo walking, or organizing for youth and family education, Jimmy is recording for his new show, JT, the LA Storyteller podcast, and getting his Los Cuentos merchandise, an urban fashion brand dedicated to working class Los Angelinos, into the public market. He credits his mother, his mama, he said in his bio, his first and foremost teacher, for all of his work today. So without further ado, Jimbo Racinos.
Thank you, Thelma. Thank you, everyone, for today. This poem is called We Raise It, a poem for Los Youngs. I know it's not fair. It's been more than 3 months since everything up and changed. Since then, nothing has changed. Everything is still a mess. Home is stressful. I know. Even if someone says otherwise, it still feels like there's nowhere else to go. Even when we step out, everything is weird. Strangers are stranger. It's not fun anymore. I know. The pupuserias are not the same. The panaderias take forever to get into. The burger joints aren't even there anymore, and our pockets don't have enough to get much anyway. I know. You didn't get to say goodbye to your friends. Everyone knew this was the last year you'd get to see each other. Now everyone is fighting. Everyone online is just insulting one another. I know. Summer's coming up and there's no pool at the house. No AC. Not enough fans. All the sockets are taken. Family is stressful. Everyone says the same about how we will get through this. doesn't feel like we're getting through. And I know it can't be long before some more riots go off. Cops killing Black people, whites without love. How are you supposed to walk around when they can get you any minute? Racism is worse than Corona. I know everyone online is just stressing, and if there's just one more argument, it's not fair. Everyone is scared. There's no love. You can't get any love. I know it's like a war that's coming, that it's dirty, but that rules are rules. If they hate us, we gotta hate them back. I know it feels this way, and I know it feels like it just stays this way. I know it's not a time for promises, but this is not a promise. This is just to let you know that through it all, you're still heard, still seen, and still the beacons of our future. To let you know that you have every right to be mad, like from the top of your lungs, ready to let it all out. We're mad with you. We're tired of the same old story too. But I know that you also know that if we get another day, that we have to raise it. And so we raise it. This next piece is just a short essay called Black, Indigenous, and More Writers of Color. I have visited various juvenile halls throughout Southern California to facilitate writing workshops with young men and women, the vast majority of them being of Black, Latinx, or Native American roots. Each time, during the brief time we share together, I arrive with a commitment to create a community with these young people, something worth pursuing, even as many of them were still just in the middle of a system with a vested interest in their incarceration and other forms of disenfranchisement, benefiting from their poverty and limited access to resources. The feeling invoked in me when these programs come to an end is always a conflicted one. On the one hand, I'm happy to see Black and brown youth, even if just for a limited time, during which I seek to let them know that they are seen and not forgotten by their peers. On the other hand, when our program's funding comes to an end, I can't help but feel like so much of our work was only the beginning of far more work to do together for our collective freedom. Today, it's only more clear how as Black, brown, and Indigenous bodies, we should not have to be seated inside of jail complexes guarded by chain-linked fences and barbed wire in order for us to speak at length, to write, and to visualize and determine our futures according to our own judgments and volition. Today, it is also clear that Americans need to set new standards for themselves if they're to create a lasting turning point during this historic time of the pandemic and the social justice protests in our communities. I hope it's become clearer for our society how violence pervades nearly every walk of life where ethnic communities are concerned, including due to policing, displacement, disinvestments in education, lack of decent, affordable housing, and more, all so that a few corporations can extend the economic engine that reproduces inequality one generation after the next. Apart from writing, I also really love to read, especially the work of other Black, Latinx, and more writers of color with perspectives varying from the norm. But did you know that a 2019 survey conducted by Lee and Low Books shows that more than 3/4 of the jobs in the publishing industry are held by white Americans, particularly by straight, non-disabled white women? What kind of message does that send, especially to the brilliant Black and brown youth like those I've met? The message is that while a multitude of voices exist in the most ethnically diverse country in the world, the industry is dominated by just one segment of the population, while Black, brown, Latinx, Indigenous, queer, disabled, and more voices are left to occupy a tiny corner with one another. If that sounds like segregation more than 124 years after Plessy versus Ferguson's separate but equal decision from the Supreme Court, that's because it is. As one commenter pointed out regarding the survey, the issue concerns by BIPOC and LGBT people not having an equal voice in an industry that shapes education and culture. Gatekeeping is real. Essentially, the survey results show that white women continue to have the loudest voices in the publishing industry and continue to decide which books should be read by the masses. My mind thinks back to the scores of young people I've met in Los Angeles, not only through its detention centers, but also at its inner city schools, so many of whose tremendous voices can stun the world with reverberating effects. I want the world to know that not one Black, brown, or indigenous writer anywhere should have to first be granted permission from overseers of detention facilities in order for us to speak and write with one another. Instead, we should be supported for doing these things and to prevent more bodies from falling victim to the prison industrial complex. The marginalized communities that have taught and affirmed me as a writer and advocate for arts and education have taught me this through and through. And so, together, one step at a time, we continue. Thank you.
Our next reader is Gt Ituarte. Gt Ituarte, EDD, is the author of 4 poetry books and is also the editor of the Pasadena Rose Poets Poetry Collection of 2019. Through her group, the Pasadena Rose Poets, Gt has established poetry readings at Pasadena City Council meetings and is known lovingly and with respect as the Poetry Lady. Her work has appeared for more than a decade in domestic and international publications. She has held readings at bookstores, museums, colleges, art galleries, high schools, community events, workplaces, and weddings throughout Southern California and beyond. So without further ado, we have Gt Ituarte.
My first poem is Bloom. Today, ideas bloom. Want poetry to make a difference in the world, gripped by fear and not knowing. How can poets make a difference? How can they help us breathe? How can they give us moments filled with words that cause us to laugh, think, feel, be? Let each of us as poets create words that feed our souls, free our minds, make us thankful to be alive. What can we do to till the soil? What can we do to calm the wind? Let each of us as poets create hope to relish sun on our faces, rain on our backs, trees, flowers, animals who shine for us. Show off their best by just being there. We are the words. We are the readers. We are the ones who walk in the rain between raindrops. We are the ones who light up the dark, keep door of possibilities ajar. We are the ones who offer our poems as a gift to the world, one word at a time. Our next poem, Early Morning in Jamul in San Diego County. Roosters, crows, wake-up call, turkeys gobble, choir of dogs bark, rabbits run for their lives, squirrels scurry. Rain quench thirst of earth, trees, plants, flowers, colors pop. An oasis, shades of green. Hail shines on cement veranda, horses neigh. Bobcats, coyotes mark their territory. Red-tailed hawks perform glide show. Sun blinks through gray clouds. Mountains watch, listen. We walk, talk, let go, laugh. Dog Chicha runs like lightning, burrows into bushes, hops, jumps, tries to catch butterflies. Tall grass wears raindrops. Ocean breeze comforts, survival, tap dances. I'd like to just make a quick comment. There's a beautiful mural behind me, and that mural is by my husband, Luis Ituarte, and it's called Siete Lunas. Thank you.
Our next reader is Dr. Cassie Primo Steele. Cassie Primo Steele is a lesbian, ecofeminist, mother, poet, novelist, and essayist. She is the author of 16 books, including 6 books of poetry. Her poetry has been nominated 6 times for a Pushcart Prize, and she is the recipient of the Archibald Rutledge Prize, the John Edward Johnson Prize, the Carrie McRae Literary Award for Poetry, and she was a finalist for the Rita Dove Poetry Award, judged by Joy Harjo. Cassie lives with her wife in Columbia, South Carolina. We are very happy to welcome Cassie Primo Steele today.
Thank you. My first poem is Here I Am, a poem about love in the time of Corona. When we were young, not Gen X, menopausal, divorced, single mothers, we gathered in bedrooms and basements to sing at the top of our lungs. And when my wife spiked a fever, and I did an hour later, and I wondered who to turn to, the night had not yet gone. The night had not yet gone away. I texted you, girl, we have fevers. And you wrote back, me too. Call you? Doesn't seem that long. Your voice again in the midst of it, crisis like 7th grade. You said you'd meet your doctor in a parking lot in the morning, and we promised to call our lesbian gyno in the morning. We have the right, you know. We have the right to know. You always believed in me, and I don't know what caused me to reach out to you. So much here is hard to lose. But maybe it was that morning you came over and sat on our back porch, and we drank watermelon drinks, and you said, feel that breeze, see those birds, look where you've ended up. And the cup was almost empty, but we toasted anyway. And you said to the woman I love, you see in her what I saw in her, and I love you. Love is everywhere. I know it is, for loving her like this. And maybe it is all up to you. It's all up to you. But here I am, the one that you love, in so many ways. Revolution, evolution, election, propagation, creation. Tell me we can stay. Tell me we can stay home, please. Because these are the only words I can believe. We put on masks and gloves and cannot even sing. Hold me in your arms. I promise this one will go slow, because it doesn't. It comes out of nowhere like a gunshot, an axe, a bullet, and that's how you know you have it, the violence of it. We have the right, you know, asking for another day. Understand, in so many ways. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Here I am. Come home. Come home, Earth said. Listen to the songs, said the birds. Look up, said the sky. Watch our leaves in bud, said the trees. Let me sit on your lap, said the dogs and cats. Work together, said the ants. Feel my touch, said the breeze. See my light, said the sun at dawn. Bring your chicks close, said the chickens. Create new schools, said the fish. Give thanks to the sand, said the shells. Flow to the source, said the rivers. Stand still, said the mountains. Be slow and silent, said the turtles. Let your bodies rest, said the stars. Expand, our hearts said. And we did, and we did, And we did. And we did.
Our next reader is Don Kingfisher Campbell. Don Kingfisher Campbell holds a Master of Fine Arts degree from Antioch University in Los Angeles, and he has taught at Occidental College Upward Bound for 36 years now. He has been a coach and judge for Poetry Out Loud, a performing poet, teacher, and youth writing workshops, poetry editor of the Angel City Review, publisher of Spectrum Literary Magazine, organizer of the San Gabriel Valley Poetry Festival, and host of the Saturday Afternoon Poetry Reading Series in Pasadena, California. Please visit his website at dkc1031.blogspot.com. Without further ado, Don Kingfisher Campbell.
4 months. LA County extends safer at home order until at least May 15th. Crime drops around the world as COVID-19 keeps people inside. Coronavirus, extra $600 to California unemployment benefits. SoCal woman, 25, recovering from COVID-19 after coma, ICU. DEA donates masks to LA hospital. SoCal Easter weekend traditions shut down amid pandemic. Funeral via Zoom gives family closure amid pandemic. Boys and girls clubs in Orange County open to help kids of first responders. Boris Johnson makes very good progress in London hospital. With more people home, LA increasing trash collection. LA County to require face coverings countywide starting April 15th. Job opportunities emerge in SoCal amid coronavirus emergency. But what matters to me most is you're 7,000 miles away in China, and governments are preventing us from traveling to each other. So we use our precious cell phones to WeChat our feelings through passionate words, provocative photos, emoting emojis. We have distant foreplay and live video exchanging motions. You encourage me and I stroke until I have to let go of the phone. I show you the results and you text, go wash up. Minutes later, I send you a pic of the sweet smelling wrinkled tissue and wish you a good night's sleep while I get up to pour some cereal and milk together in a bowl. Dalian play. A week after lockdown is lifted, people gather in the square to kick a soccer ball around, ride tricycles with training wheels, or just walk together again. This afternoon, a blonde doll in a blue satin dress and a pink-eared white bunny on all fours sit on a wooden park bench, ready to eat. The girl with a pink hat and blue surgical mask serves them slices of plastic pizza, using a blue plastic shovel to dish the yellow wedges. The doll falls ill at dinner. The girl places a packet of soft cotton cleansing wipes as a pillow on the red scooter, rolling as an ambulance. The girl in the pink hat gives the doll mouth to mouth while wearing the mask. The bunny at the bench doesn't want to eat anymore. Twitches its nose at the small boy sporting a black woolen ball cap and smaller blue mask. He tries and tries to get Bunny to chew on some faux bread. Meanwhile, the doll nests, eyes closed, her blue shoes tethered by a red ribbon to her wrist, dangle under this nearby hospital bench. The boy comes to visit, offers Dolly a few pine nuts as medicine for the virus in what they have named Wuhan Children's Hospital.
Our next distinguished poet is Gregory Gt Foster. GT, a 2017 Pushcart Prize nominee in poetry, is a California native, retired educator, and managing editor of Spectrum, a poetry quarterly. He is also co-host of Saturday Afternoon Poetry in Pasadena, California. He has published 2 poetry chapbooks and is finalizing his first novel called The Boys Are Not Refined, which is a Vietnam-era semi-biographical soldier's story. Gregory's poetry has appeared in numerous sources, such as the Pasadena Weekly, the San Gabriel Valley Quarterly, Spectrum, Day of the Dead Anthology, and Altadena Poetry Review. Here we are proud to present Gregory Gt Foster.
Thank you. And I have to take a second to say I've also published in the Altadena Literary Review and was surprised to get an email from them Saturday announcing my second nomination for a Pushcart for a poem. So now it's 2. Thank you. 2 nominations. Let's win one.
Well deserved.
My first poem is Cold Vivid State 2. New York City's shadow of virus death, bloated lobby fat on halfway measures, as the poor struggled for last gas breath, protective gear stocks suddenly treasures. Mid-national lack of best practice advice, scores of the new dead lie on beds of ice. At rest, the lost do not feel the chill or the fender shake, or hear the idling muffled hum the rented reefer truck, extemporaneous mobile morgue holding tanks make. Nor do the pre-grave backlog of poor, brown and black and cold storage care if autopsies confirm COVID-19 cause. Corpses in slumber can only deliver shivers of despair. While Madam First Woman and children without pause drank milk and ate pan dulce at a party well attended. The savory cake was by an Albanian bakery man made and eaten after everyone had played and they had sung the sad song of the lost Lenore. But none could recall all the words, nor the score, nor how it began or ended. Though the music had verve, the song was not so long as people content to flatten the curve in safe, sweet home. Yet some say, but hey, there is no guaranteed sure way. Resistance is pure American. To simply obey is to cower. They harp a unity song in notes loud, sharp, and sour, and denounce non-essential closures as an overreach of power. But beware, beware those shifty eyes, that fake orange hair. 'Tis wise to despise, for grand surprise is a booby-themed ring spun round him twice, and a change on election day. For he has been fed steroid dreams and crooked schemes, tasted 9 God nectar, and is now naked, drunk on sway. COVID, dusky death. Need not be Phi Beta Kappa nor summa cum laude to agree why mortality strikes from this colorblind microscopic virus hit harder on this country's black and poor and brown. Seek common conditions that speak beyond general front door, like less vitamin D in some blacks to darker deficiencies, mental well-being, dental hygiene, household health and wealth. Gaps create state of high rates of untreated or undiagnosed obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke, among fatal host of underlying conditions common in black and brown penury folk. Insidiously at work beneath overlying historical benign neglect lie compounded psychological, political, and economic effect of wide acceptance of black and brown lack of health, help, or hope, and gloom and doom acquiescence to mobs and the hanging rope. Perennial, last hired, first fired one, given more work for less pay, take home, dark tone earned 56 cents to white man's dollar, and thank banks' red line mortgages for our neighborhood squalor. Dense housing, inadequate space for social distance or even grace. Meanwhile, shelter in place, wear a mask, wash your hands, don't touch your face, cover mouth if you cough, and to elbow safely sneeze. And if you can find them, pass the rubber gloves, meet and Charmin, please.
Our next distinguished poet is Trisha Fay Hefner. Her work has been published in several journals, such as Blood Lotus, the Cincinnati Review Fourth River, Hunger Mountain, and Pyrenees Fountain. She is a recipient of the 2011 Robert and Adele Schiff Poetry Prize, the 2011 Alien Sloth Sex Award, a 2015 Pushcart Prize Poetry nomination, and is the author of 2 chapbooks, The Lone Breakable Night and Take This Longing. Trisha is founder of the Poetry Salon, where she mentors writers. She has studied with many renowned poets, such as Suzanne Lummis and Kim Rosen. Find out more about Trisha at www.thepoetrysalon.com. So very, very pleased to introduce now Trisha Fay Hefner.
Today, I saw the bodies lifted. Today, I saw the bodies lifted into a makeshift morgue. Whose bodies, I don't know. The city is silent with its own sadness. Sirens cough and are quiet. Dogs surrender to the cold. They look like women's bodies. The body of Mary, Mother of God, resting in the same shroud they wrapped me in when I died. Shroud that keeps you safe from flies and from flying too far away. Today, they showed us the bodies lifted in front of a camera. Bodies made nameless by our imagining, made heavy with their fame. The white veil wrapped around the neck, the cheekbones, the nose. Their white cloth-bound faces bright as boats sliding into the river. Whose nameless solitude now claims them? Who owns that river? Whose bright boats those were who traveled in them and who took them away, we will never know. and this is Passover 2020. Play for me the saddest song, something Judaic that reminds me of bread left unleavened. All over the world today, people are about to die. Animal trainers and car mechanics. Stand outside at sunrise. Memorize their faces, the feel of their invisible weight on the planet. They are in the ambulances, and the ambulances are on their way to the ships, which will turn them away. You can pray to God, but he is busy hardening Pharaoh's heart, preparing a redness of plague. There is nothing we can do to stop it. The cities paint blood on doorways, sacrificing so many lambs. We are saying goodbye to the world we wanted to live in. If it was gold, if it was glittering, if it was anything we wanted, now it is gone. The stranger has come, looks us twice in the evil eye, shrivels the grapes, spotlights the local news. You say we are changing the world, but the world is here to change us. On the day you die, it will still be this way. The clouds are fluid. Tonight I will boil eggs. I will eat of bitter herbs. I will mix salt and water and pretend they are not my own tears. I will watch Yul Brynner play Pharaoh on television and Charlton Heston play Moses. I will pray that someone's heart be softened. I will pray for an honesty I cannot name. I will submerge myself in this sadness and cross through the salt of another Red Sea, listening to the suspended waves crash onto soldiers who follow close behind.
Next, we have David Duffy. David is a trilingual Georgian American, and he is an award-winning poet, novelist, and multimedia artist. He has won the 2019 Spillwords Press Poetry Award, the Adelaide Literary Award Anthology 2019 finalist Best Poem, the Bowery Poetry Club's Literature Luminary Honor, and Statoric Magazine's naming him the incomparable poet. David Duffy's works have been published nationally and internationally. 15 books of poetry, 8 novels, and 3 audio albums of poetry. His 3 first book-length works in English, which were Lilac Shadow of a Tree and Eastern Star, are forthcoming in the US in spring-fall 22, with his third book, his novel, A Mystière, following in spring 2021. David lives and works in New York City. And without further ado, here is David Duffy.
Thank you. Before dawn, a stillness broken before dawn, and the name of all that's held, and the name of our very present, and the face of it all. The remaining past, unclaimed, driven forth by faith, waiting for news, we are divided, spinning chaos into order, death into birth, looking for an exit, trying to recall a memory of you and the great affliction of time. We will all get out of here alive. I have good news. We will all get out of here alive. What happens, happens on time. Don't seek your fault. Nothing is your fault. There is no fault at all but living. Through the mysteries of forgiving, I see we're waiting for a miracle. The miracles happen when I trust you, my sweetest friend. But nothing happens when I cannot talk with you and cannot keep my faith, when I cannot continue my path, when no one is around me, when I cannot trust myself, when all men doubt me. Distance means nothing when your loved one means everything. And I'm telling you, we will all get out of here alive. What does not happen in time. Don't seek your or others' fate. There is no fate at all, but choice. In the centuries of noise and its deadly drive, while I'm telling you, we will all get out of here alive.
Our final special poet for this evening is Joshua Corwin. Joshua Corwin is a Los Angeles native. He is a neurodiverse two-time Pushcart Prize nominee in poetry. He is a Best of the Net nominated poet and Spill Words Press Publication of the Month winner. Joshua's full-length poetry collection, Becoming Vulnerable, was issued in 2020 and details his experience with autism, addiction, sobriety, and spirituality. He has been included, the book has been included in a UCLA classroom setting. Joshua has several anthology projects in the works in collaboration with others and involving his own work. He hosts the podcast Assiduous Dust, writes a weekly magazine column, and teaches writing at the Miracle Project in LA, an autism nonprofit. Now we are pleased to turn this over to Joshua Corwin.
Thank you so much, Thelma, and
you're welcome.
I am grateful to be here. This is my poem, a poetic interpretation, The Color of Numbers. Deaths, 0, January 1st. 0, January 31st. 0, February 1st. 1 death, retroactive, February 29th. 0, March 1st. 3,170, March 31st. 60,966, April 30th. 103,781, May 31st. 126,140, June 30th. 154,320, July 31st. These numbers are colorless on the page, without race, religion, or creed. They have no hidden agenda. They're simply numbers. Exponential in their growth, they cause shadows to move and cast overhead tears from sky. I watch the hourglass, feel myself descend into quicksand. Will the last pebble on Serenity's shore dwindle forever? Succumb to nightfall as numbers rise? Will our mosaic bodies be ethereal corpses and crash onto a non-existent beach? Will we further fragment, let our nation be riven, torn asunder by our own grenades of do nothing, blame, and non-compliance, and watch the aftermath of exploding numbers? Or will we unite as ocean, learn its secret truth? That ocean survives only if its moving parts stay together while simultaneously accepting their reality, their confines, their shape.
And now it's time for closing comments from our distinguished authors. And they will just take their turn at random and share their thoughts with us.
Thank you, Thelma. It's been wonderful to be part of this. And I just wanted to particularly underline the beauty of everyone's poems, and also how Josh's poem tonight really struck me with the numbers, and how when we count something, the emotion is not there. And it really is the work of poets to bring language and a quality of emotion to what we're going through collectively. So I wanted to express that and thank everyone for their words tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Piggyback and just continue with that, the beauty of everyone's work. And I was gonna, I was just stunned by the finishing with Josh's numbers when this thing isn't finished and it's getting ready to surge again with these numbers. And those are low numbers, those fantastically incredible numbers that he gives us at the end are little minor numbers now. And with everyone affecting 1.5 other persons, this thing is crazy. And it's so timely a work collectively, folks. And I was so glad to be part of this collective.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to
Thelma?
say, okay.
Hello, Gerda? Okay.
Okay,
Thelma,
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, Thelma, thank you for this groundbreaking collection. And what's really important for us as writers, we have to keep writing, because if we stop writing, then we will not be able to share these words with others. And also to have these words come from us, because it helps us to do what we need to do. So we just have to keep writing and walking and walking and writing. And I'm writing more now than I've ever written, because there's just so much that gets into my head. But at the same time, we also have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves, because we are each other's gifts and precious. So we just have to keep making our mark in the world, because we're really needed right now. Thank you, Thelma. Thanks to all the wonderful, wonderful poets from around the country. I'm really in good company. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thelma. And not only Thelma, but thank you. I thank you all. I think the main distinguished some symbol in this poetry anthology is not the poetry. Of course, poetry is the high quality of poetry, but no, beyond of understanding what is poetry for me and to me, for everybody, for all of us. This is light of our hearts. And that's the hope. That's the main thing, because I've seen a million anthologies, and we all seen a lot of anthologies in the world. 50% it's totally not readable, just because of there is nothing, just nothing, just words. What are you reading, Your Majesty? Words, Hamlet. Nothing. This book has a light of all of you guys, and this is the main thing in this absolutely noisy and crazy 21st century. But I can feel this book, I can touch this book, I can touch every word in it, and I see that heart beats. That's the main thing. Expressing love, this is the top and supreme achievement of poetry. So I'm very lucky to be in, and I'm very lucky to have my first book, Eastern Star, published by Adelaide Books. So it's already on Amazon and on Adelaide Books, New York City's publishing house webpage. And rock on and shine on. Everything is perfect.
David.
Will be always.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful, David. I so appreciate Thelma. I've always loved Thelma. She's always inspiring, and she has stepped up to create a book that could help so many people when they read these books, the words that people express from what has been happening in their lives and what they've seen and happening in other lives. It gives something people that can identify with and heal their hearts. And I'm so happy, so proud to be part of this beautiful event. Thank you, Thelma.
Well, thank you, Polly. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Trisha and Josh, whoever.
Yeah, I just want to say again, thank you, Thelma, for putting this together. And I think the pandemic has really changed the way that I feel about poetry. A lot of the time I'm writing poetry trying to be impressive and win awards. And I don't let anything out of my hands and into the hands of publishers until after it's sat in a drawer and I've edited it and sent it to friends and gotten approval. And that's how it used to be for me. And when you called on us to send things out, to send things to you for this anthology, I was very dubious, but I realized that one of the great things that I get to do, because I host the Poetry Salon workshops, is I get to meet with writers every morning and we write and we share. And I mean, I think the work often is very high quality, but it also in some ways doesn't matter to me that the work is high quality. What matters is that we're connecting with each other. And I think in many ways that is what poetry is about, when you strip away all of the the accolades. Yeah, the accolades and things that you're aiming towards. It really is just about connecting with other people and saying you're not in this alone. We're here together. We're processing this together with one another. And, hearing the other poems shared tonight and also in previous readings has just helped me to understand and feel how everyone is going through this together, even though we are ironically apart. And just one short comment I want to make is that my married name is Trisha Fay Hefner Rubenstein, and this last Passover we celebrated Passover for the very first time via Zoom, which was a really interesting experience. But one of the repeated phrases in the Seder is next year in Jerusalem. And I think right now that takes on such a weighted, significant meaning. Next year, anywhere. Next year, I hope that things are much better all over the world and we're all able to return, not just to the world we left, but hopefully to a better world that we will be creating and recreating when we return.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice way to finish it. Yeah.
Joshua?
Yeah, so thank you so much. And I just feel that a lot of what's going on, especially as a young individual, and especially as someone who, I graduated just, a year ago and happened to get into the literary scene. I was on the phone just with and hopefully this ties in, I was on the phone just with the other day with my alma mater for Pitzer College, and they, and it becomes apparent to me more than ever that young individuals of professionals, academics right now are going to be more than ever without jobs. They're going to be not able to do different things. There's a shortage of jobs. We've been aware that there are tons of different, much more neo-Nazi and just fascist kind of a regime of all these things that have popped up. And we also need to be aware that we need to honor the breath, and we need to honor our own breath by masking it, as well as realizing that all these things are being affected. And although we can use poetry as a means to share something about it and do something about it, we also need to be able to take action, or in some cases inaction. That poetry without action isn't poetry. that the true notion of poetry is when you take action upon your words.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great.
I'd like to, everyone took their turn. I just wanted to read just a few lines from one of my poems in the book. It's toward the end, and it's called Panoply of Gods. And this is my vision, for what I hope we become. It starts out with an epigraph by John Lewis, who we know died while the pandemic was still raging. And he says, "Answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. The way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way." And this was said in his essay. If you remember, he wrote his final essay and asked that it not be shared with anyone until the day that he was buried. And that this is from that essay in the New York Times. And then the last few little part of the poem kind of carries forward, I'm feeling the spirit of John Lewis. He said, "Let's heal our nation, pave the way to new visions planted in democracy, not demagoguery, in partnerships, not paranoia, in egalitarianism, not egotism, in humanitarianism, not hubris." John Lewis's final words to this world were, quote, "Walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide. The new panoply of gods that awaits us is in the wings till we commit to these better things." So as a good thought for our nation, for all the wonderful people represented by you, we're moving forward, but we move forward with optimism and with hope and with the resilience that we have so vastly exhibited thus far. So thank you all again for being here, for being part of this project, for sharing your wisdom, your heart, your minds, your soul, your spirit with all of us. I've had a wonderful time being with you all today. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you, Armando, for hosting us.
Thanks, Armando.
Thank you.
Thank you, Armando. Thank you, Thelma.
And I have a request. I have a request for all of you. As we're closing the show, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to outstanding poets who are highlighted in the book, When the Virus Came Calling, COVID-19 Strikes America. But more importantly, not only is there great work and very touching, we've heard it, but I'm going to ask all of you to please also plan poets and writers to write another book, The End of COVID.
Can't wait.
Fantastic idea, Armando. Thank you.
So I think this is important, but I think we need to start thinking that way and bringing hope to the people as well. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm Armando F. Sanchez, and I thank you for being on our program. I'm Armando F. Sanchez. You can write to me if you have any questions about the programming. You can contact Thelma T. Reyna. She has a website as well, or you can contact me for information, afsanchez@gmail.com. And again, thanks to everyone, and I look forward to seeing this next book, The End of COVID.
All right.
Well, take care.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Thelma. Thank you,
Thank you.
Armando.
Good night to all
everybody.
of you.
Have a groovy day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.